video is sponsored by MANTA Sleep. A lot of amazing indies were released in 2025, and to be quite honest, I was really struggling to keep up with them all. Even so, I did manage to play a fair few of the more popular titles to come out last year, whether that was on stream or in my own personal time. And in the case of Metal Garden and Disco Pup, I made entire dedicated videos talking about how much I adored them. For this video though, I want to focus on even more underrated indies I played on Steam that I haven't seen spoken about very often, and ones that, in my opinion, deserve a whole lot more attention. All of the main games I'm going to showcase have less than 150 reviews on Steam as of writing, so hopefully there's at least one title that's going to be a completely new mention for anyone watching. As always with my yearly wrap-up videos, there will be a montage of games releasing in 2026 and beyond, so I really recommend staying until the end for that too, so you can bloat your wishlist to unmanageable levels just as I have. My first recommendation is an RPG Maker game called BIRDHOUSE, and so long as you're looking at your screen right now, you can already see how stunning the hand-drawn visuals are. It's created by Hellstar, who is an artist I absolutely love, and because of that I was just happy to exist in the game world and appreciate their artwork. It's a horror title, but more in the sense of providing a quiet, brooding eeriness that steeps across a playthrough, with its progression perfectly signified by unsettling animated cutscenes. The story follows a character named Wick, whose tranquil home is slowly infected by something sinister after he discovers an abandoned egg in his garden. Overall, the narrative is fairly straightforward, and you're also able to collect pages hidden around the environments that offers some more lore details. BIRDHOUSE is also very simple on the gameplay front, which quite literally involves you doing chores on a to-do list, so don't expect any combat or serious puzzle solving. However, if you're like me and really enjoy getting a short and sweet dose of a unique virtual atmosphere, then you'd probably admire the almost melancholic horror offered here. It only took me 45 minutes for my first playthrough, which is already very little commitment required, and if you need any more convincing, it is also free to play. The only thing I will note is that I noticed quite a few players report that their game crashed at some points, and while I guess I got lucky and didn't have any issues myself, I'd recommend saving often just in case. Plus, from what I gathered, there are 2 possible endings, so it's good to have save files to go back to if you want to easily experience both. I really hope we get to see more games from Hellstar in the future, because I'm just so captivated by their approach to the horror genre, both in their artwork and in BIRDHOUSE. I know a fair few of you watching probably have my videos in a bedtime playlist, and while it would be pretty funny to use this moment to blare alarm sounds or start screaming into my microphone, I instead want to talk about what could help you have an even better night's rest, which brings me on to today's sponsor, MANTA Sleep. MANTA Sleep sent me their sound sleep mask, which offers true 100% blackouts with 0 eye pressure, and is engineered so even side sleepers like me can have a comfortable experience. It features easily adjustable ultra-thin Bluetooth speakers with a 24-hour battery life at 100% volume, so you can listen to podcasts, audiobooks, music, or YouTube videos as you fall asleep. And don't worry, there aren't any audible battery notifications to disturb you. With the Sound Sleep Mask, you can also remove the electronic parts for easy washing, and completely personalize the fit and placement of the mask so it feels just right for you. I've used very basic sleep masks from other brands in the past, so the leap from those to the Sound Sleep Mask was a massive upgrade for me, and I've been genuinely impressed with the comfort and customization. Join the ProNap movement today by using my link in the description and treat yourself to a premium sleeping accessory that isn't just a playlist of my videos. A big thank you to MANTA Sleep for improving the quality of my sleep and for sponsoring and supporting the channel. The second game I want to highlight is NAVICULA MEATUS, a surreal puzzle game that takes place within a murky and suffocating world inhabited by strange fleshy creatures. It is a cryptic, unwelcoming experience, and you will probably spend a large percentage of the game deeply confused and might even finish it feeling equally clueless. Some of you might be wondering why I even made this list in the first place with that last sentence, and it actually almost didn't. Very quickly upon starting NAVICULA MEATUS, it became obvious that this game wasn't going to clearly communicate with me in terms of how it works and what you're supposed to do. This is from the bizarre organic menu contraption you have to decipher to even start the game to the alien symbols used for all the character dialogue. So while finding solutions to puzzles is one thing, this game will also require you to figure out what the puzzle is even asking in the first place. I spent some time slowly learning that characters would ask me to fetch a certain item for them, and by interacting with my environment, I eventually understood how I could obtain some of them and that I would be rewarded with a different item that, for example, another character blocking a doorway might be asking for. I had plans that day though, and had to leave after a little under an hour of playtime. But with no menu option for saving from what I could see, I assumed there would be some form of auto-saving and quit the game. Of course, I should have known better than that given my experience up until that point, but I was still frustrated to find that when I had returned, I was right back at square one. So I left NAVICULA MEATUS behind and moved on to trying out other games that might make the cut for this list instead. A day or two passed, however, and no matter what I played, I just couldn't stop thinking about NAVICULA MEATUS and decided to give it another go. There was some relearning to do since the items I was being asked for by characters I had previously interacted with had now changed, so there is some randomization in the item requests and locations. I got further than I did before, while still not knowing what exactly was going on, but feeling a vague sense of progression that was genuinely intoxicating, and I realized that was the reason I was pulled back in. This unknown language and world made no effort to help me, but that didn't matter because with enough exploration and thinking, I could eventually take at least one step further into the depths of this place. I don't want to ruin the explanation for it, but I did end up understanding how saving works, and got to enabling the translation option for the alien symbols. Though I love how it doesn't suddenly make what is being said any more comprehensible most of the time, which feels far more appropriate. For those of you who do end up trying it out and maybe get a bit too stuck, there's a guide you can find on the developer's website as well as a couple on Steam. Anyway, it's such a cool setting and approach to a game aside from just the visuals, and I adored experiencing the few musical performances you get too. There's just nothing quite like NAVICULA MEATUS, and I am so thankful I went back to finish it. When it comes to picking out what games I want to play, I tend to go for titles that can offer a unique destination that I haven't experienced before in any other virtual world. A perfect example of that is my next recommendation, Fragrance Point, which is essentially if bizarre 3D renders of the 90s were the setting of a video game. The colours and visuals are overwhelming, but in the best way possible, like being thrown into the belly of a complex synthetic alien organism that still manages to provide a mesmerising and pretty chill hangout spot. The animations and environmental movement are all in sync with the rhythm of the music, like a music visualizer where every fraction of this world is connected to the beating heart of its soundscape. Exploring the station was very enjoyable in the same vein a PS2-era adventure platformer would be, solving light puzzles, speaking with silly little lifeforms, and exploring every corner for key items and collectibles. When I first started the game, the trippy sci-fi maximalism and slightly slippery controls took a tiny bit of getting used to, but once it clicked, I was completely drawn into its atmosphere. I found progression throughout easy enough, though there were some parts where I'd need to spend more time scouring the different areas for any passageways or important things I missed. It really is just light-hearted abstract goodness set in what feels like a lost digital future that getting lost in is such a refreshing experience. The menu and UI are equally imaginative, and the character customization device especially is like figuring out a TV remote made by whimsical, glorpy aliens. Fragrance Point is an unapologetic game in pretty much every aspect of its design, and it's clear that the creator had a vision and stuck to it no matter what, something that I always deeply admire. Like the rest of the games on this list, it really does hurt seeing that nowhere near enough people have played it, so if it looks like it's up your alley, definitely give it a try. Next up is another RPG Maker game called Who's Hungry, which is set in a sci-fi apocalypse where humans have been almost entirely wiped out by a robot invasion. You play as a food delivery bot venturing to another planet to fulfill a human customer's order, but to reach them, you have to make your way through a machine-filled building and fight anything trying to stop you. General combat involves randomized rolls of either 1s or 0s, and the one with the highest number by the end gets to attack. You can increase the number of slots you have and get other upgrades to ensure a specific square will always roll a 1 no matter what, as well as get certain consumables that, for example, allow rerolls which help you if you're in a pickle. Despite being luck-based, it never felt unfair, and losses were honestly quite rare. The only downside is that the game did crash on me a couple times, but I had saved often enough that it wasn't really a huge problem. Out of all of the options on this list, it's definitely the one I personally thought had the best story and most memorable characters, and the narrative developed in ways I did not expect at all. It mostly has quite a humorous writing style, but it knows how and when to get dark when it needs to, with a small yet impactful inclusion of body horror sprinkled within. As you can see, the game sports a pretty surreal style when it comes to its presentation, and I adore the little hatch in the UI where the character you're speaking to appears. Everything about Who's Hungry is just so weird and fun, even when it's just running into random corners of each area to gather hidden currency. It certainly did not overstay its welcome during my roughly 4-hour playthrough, and I'm seriously shocked this title hasn't already blown up in popularity within the RPG Maker community. Unfortunately, in terms of making a good recommendation for it, this is one of those games where it's better for me to not say much about it to avoid spoiling anything, so I really hope I've done it justice and instilled some interest in it. The last of the 5 main games I want to mention is BEERCRUSH, a first-person runner roguelike where you step into the shoes of the aptly named protagonist John Beer. To maintain your run, you have to keep topping up on drinks before your meter runs dry, jumping and sliding to avoid obstacles and boosting to gain speed. Any hits you take greatly decrease your speed, costing precious time and thus ending your run. However, at the end of every level, you get to choose an ability that will, for instance, allow you to apply shield or automatically emit a blast every 5 seconds that destroys all obstacles in your immediate vicinity. Some abilities have a higher chance of appearing than others, and you can have a total of 3 equipped at once. Knowing which ones work best for you involves experimenting over your numerous runs, and there may be some you prefer for specific levels. Speaking of which, there are different themed worlds, each with their own banger soundtrack, and I really do mean it when I say that BEERCRUSH has one of the best OSTs to come out from last year. When you run into a can, a WarioWare-like minigame will appear where your aim is to max out the amount of alcohol consumed to replenish your meter. Each level has a matching theme for their minigame too, like how one might have your screen covered by pop-up ads, whereas another will have you breaking beer bricks with a bouncy ball. BEERCRUSH is simple in concept, yet extremely addictive, which is rather on the nose given the protagonist's alcoholism, and the exhilarating chaos of gameplay had me unable to stop myself from doing just one more run after a failed attempt. There are 3 modes overall in case you want to increase the difficulty or jump into a shorter version if you're stuck for time, and it took me about 4.5 hours to get all the achievements. Other than that, BEERCRUSH has some secrets to hunt out too, which explore John Beer's backstory, and you can unlock visual customization like borders by playing the various modes. It's always a pleasant surprise when I pick up a game on a whim and end up being so deeply charmed by it almost instantly, and I already knew it would make this list long before I even finished it. People often ask me how I find obscure games, and the answer to that is basically by spending a lot of time looking for them, but also making it easier for myself to keep updated. While I mainly use things like the Steam Discovery Queue, it is honestly the least time-efficient way of finding them, and I say this as someone who has been through over 24,000 titles. It's not that its algorithm knows what I like to see, but rather that I've been through so many queues that I'll at least find an interesting title occasionally by default. If anything, it's not really any more useful than going through the entire list of every upcoming title on Steam at this point. Which brings me on to this. Do not let an algorithm on any platform dictate the entirety of what you see online. Yes, it is easier to just put full faith into social media feeds, but that's probably not showing you even a fraction of what you'd actually like to see. The best thing I've found is following curators with similar interests to me, and taking the time to actually follow developers and check reposts, as well as the other devs they follow. So when somebody who I enjoy the work of has a future project announced, I see it. Sometimes I browse through itch.io and find people from there, but I also do my best to follow devs on multiple platforms. The most important thing though is tailoring my feeds and notifications in a way that I actually see what they post. Because now that many platforms default to showing you algorithmically picked content the second you open them, it doesn't even end up showing you stuff from the people you follow unless you go into the following or subscriptions tab. And even then, the functionality is questionable at times. I know how much this is affecting things because I've been dealing with this as a creator on YouTube for the past year. YouTube is not showing most of my own subscribers my videos, to the point where I've had countless people tell me throughout 2025 that they thought I had completely stopped uploading. The viewer experience on YouTube in general is at such a dire point that it's not enough to just subscribe anymore if you genuinely want to guarantee seeing someone's work. You have to stay notified, whether that's through YouTube notifications or something like a Discord channel, which I also have in my case. I post when I upload onto my Instagram stories and on Blue Sky and Twitter too, so following in as many places as possible improves the chances of seeing when I do have a new video. Or you can even watch my videos on Nebula, and shout out to anyone watching over there right now. It frustrates me to no end how awful it's become on YouTube, and I am not an analytical numbers person, but something very weird is going on, because while my subscriber count climbs higher and higher, my videos perform worse each time I upload a new one, despite gaining thousands of new subs since the last. To be honest, the situation is making it harder to make a living with my work, and I'm far from the only one being affected by this. But I'm thankful for things like sponsors, Nebula, Patreon, and especially Twitch streaming because it's given me a chance to keep trying at least for a while longer. At the end of the day, I'm grateful anyone watches my videos, and I'm so sorry I've taken up so much time with this dumb rant in a video that's supposed to be about indie games, but yeah, don't let the algorithms decide everything you see. On that note of how to find what you want to see more of on the internet, it's time to get into what's become a tradition for my yearly wrap-up videos. I have a montage of upcoming games on my Steam wishlist that you may be interested in adding to your own. The titles will be in the top left of the screen, so pause as many times as you need. And I of course will also have a link in the description which will have all the games shown here listed in order with their Steam links for easy access. There's a lot of good stuff in this one, and I'm super excited for what's to come in 2026 and beyond. As always, thank you so much for watching and supporting me. I've got a lot of plans I'm looking forward to this year in terms of videos and streams too, so make sure to subscribe or follow, and most importantly, turn on notifications if you want to see my future work. If you do want to catch me live, I stream pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday on Twitch, but for those of you who can't tune in at those times, I also have a VOD channel here on YouTube called EuroVOD 4000. Anyway, a huge thank you to my patrons for making all of this possible, and I'll see you in the next one.